After learning how to interpret and offer answers to very basic number operations, we are also expected to learn how to interpret and offer answers to secondary number operations. That takes us to lesson objective number 9, interpreting secondary arithmetic operations. In this section, we see an extension of the basic number operations that we learned to interpret earlier. Please pay attention as I develop this section, especially in comparison with what we have learned earlier and why this is a secondary number operation. Please watch out. In this section 9, let us focus on how to interpret secondary arithmetic operations. This looks like a preview to interpreting and evaluating multiplication operations. Why is this preview important? It is because in interpreting number operations, sometimes we fail to co-locate. That is, we fail to tell what the words in our interpretation refer to in our number operations. Take for instance, this operation plus 2 bracket plus 5 is interpreted with these words in the box. Notice how those words are divided into sections. You can see positive of having 5 into 2 times. Positive of is inside one box. Having 5 is inside its own box. Into 2 times is inside its own box. Before now, we did not divide our weights of interpretation into sections like this. It is this division that makes this section important and peculiar. And that is because we need it for future applications. So let us take advantage we have before us to learn how to interpret secondary arithmetic operations, especially multiplication. Again, look at this operation, plus 2 bracket plus 5. Look at the words interpreted. Positive of. This positive of has a part in that operation it describes. What is it? Look at this plus here. This plus alone, not 2, plus alone is what is described as positive of. Next is having 5. Look at the arrow pointing to where it is coming from. Where it is coming from tells us what that having 5 is explaining. This is it. Is it only plus or 5 or both that we mean by having 5? It is both of them. Both plus and 5. Plus is having, and then 5 is there. Therefore, having 5. Having 5 is what is summarized in this box. The third one is into 2 times. Into 2 times. Again, look at this arrow and trace it to where it is coming from. What is it coming from? Look at it here, 2. Place. This plus is no longer a part of that arrow and no longer a part of that final phrase that says into 2 times. It is 2 alone that that expression refers to. Therefore, each time you interpret anything, be sure that every part of your interpretation can co-locate. That is, can locate its corresponding figure, a number or a sign in a number operation, so that in the course of time, you can interpret number operations without such drawings. This drawing is for a beginner. When you perfect interpreting, you don't need the drawing again. But this drawing or this chart provides a vivid illustration of what happens when we write plus 2 bracket plus 5. Let's look at other number operations. First, among the remaining ones, look at this plus 2 bracket minus 5. How would you interpret it? Do you think that you still need this chart? Anyway, if you still do, you're not doing badly. But it is expected that after we interpret the second one with the same pattern, you are not going to need that chart again. You should be able to interpret such operations without making reference to the chart. Again, how do you interpret this plus 2 bracket minus 5? Shall we still say positive of having 5 into 2 times? Check it again. First, is this still positive of? Let's check. Yes, it is still positive of. Is it still having 5? No. It is now owing 5. Is it still into 2 times? Yes, it is still into 2 times. So what has changed? What has changed from this first one is just that this having 5 will now be owing 5. What then do you think is going to be the way to interpret this plus 2 bracket minus 5? Let's see. Look at it. It says positive of owing 5 into 2 times. Is that clear to you? It should. Let us look at the remaining examples. And now the third example, it says minus 2 bracket plus 5. Is this still positive? No. This is now negative. Is this still 2 times? Yes, 2 times. This is still having 5. Therefore, altogether, we have it that minus 2 bracket plus 5 is negative of having 5 into 2 times. Negative of having 5 into 2 times. Do you agree? You should. Based on what you've been told a short while ago, you should agree that this is how to interpret this number operation. Look at this number 4. It is minus 2 bracket minus 5. Again, this is no longer positive. It is negative. It is still 2 times. But now, it has turned from having 5 to owing 5 again. Therefore, the weights of this interpretation for this expression are negative of owing 5 into 2 times. Negative of owing 5 into 2 times. Now, it is time for us to offer answers to these interpreted number operations, because the essence of interpretation is evaluation. If you go on to evaluate without interpretation, you might get things wrong. But if you interpret before offering answers, you will see how successful you will be in the end. Again, let us try to offer answers to these interpreted number operations. Please watch out. What you see is a repeat of those number operations we have done before. What will you think the answers to these operations will be? Let us start with the first one, plus 2 bracket plus 5. What then is the answer? Do you remember the way it was interpreted? Let's try to recall. We said positive of having 5 into 2 times. First, if you have 5 into 2 times, how many do you have? You have 10. Then, positive of having 10. How do you write it? Let's see. That's the way it is written, plus bracket plus 10. That is positive of having 10. I hope you know where this plus 10 came from. Yes, having 5 into 2 is having 10. Then positive of having 10. What then will it be finally? Finally, the result is plus 10. That is having 10. Either you write plus 10 or just write 10. Recalling that when a number is written and there is no sign that comes before it, the sign that comes before it is plus. Therefore, there is an unwritten plus here. I hope you followed. What about this? Plus 2 bracket minus 5. What do you think is going to be the answer? Again, like before, go back to the words of its interpretation. What is it? Positive of owing 5 into 2 times. I repeat, positive of owing 5 into 2 times. Like before, what we do is to get the result of owing 5 into 2 first. After we get it, we now know the positive of that result. Again, owing 5 into 2, what will it be? It is owing 10. Let's see. And when we have owing 10, what about positive of owing 10? Let's first write the positive of owing 10. Yes, that is how to write positive of owing 10. Now, the answer is what? What do you mean by positive of owing 10? Positive means continue the way you are, don't change. This is owing 10, and this is telling it to continue owing 10, meaning positive of owing 10. It means continue owing 10. What then is the answer? Please watch. Yes, the answer now is minus 10. That is owing 10. Do you agree? You should. Somebody is telling somebody who is owing 10 to continue owing 10, which means the result is owing 10. I just believe that the argument is making sense to you. Let's now talk about the third on the list, that is minus 2 bracket plus 5. By now, you must have gotten a little more proficient in interpreting these kind of number operations. Let's look at this one, minus 2 bracket plus 5. Negative of having 5 into 2 times. Again, negative of having 5 into 2 times. First, like before, we get the result of having 5 into 2. If we get that result of having 5 into 2, we recall that we're going to get the negative of that result. The result, as you can see, is minus bracket plus 10. The plus 10 came from having 5 into 2 times, and this negative, you know what is coming from. Now, we say negative of having 10. What does this mean? Negative means change from having to owing. Negative simply means change to your opposite. Stop being what you are. Change to your opposite. What is opposite of having 10? It is owing 10. Therefore, the result of this expression is minus 10. Please see it. The result of this minus bracket plus 10 is therefore going to be minus 10. Please see. Let's now look at the fourth on the list, that is minus 2 bracket minus 5. What do you think its answer will be after interpretation? By now, I expect that you have gained some proficiency in interpreting and evaluating this operation. What will it be? This is negative of owing 5 into 2 times. Is that what you were thinking? Sure, you are right. Again, negative of owing 5 into 2 times. As before, what do? We get the result of owing 5 into 2 first. Let's see what that will be. The result turns to minus bracket minus 10. That is owing 5 into 2 is owing 10. Then negative of 8. See it here. What is this asking this to do? Don't forget what negative is. It thinks whatever you are, change to your opposite. This is minus 10. What is its opposite? It is plus 10. That is owing 10 has opposite to be having 10. So if this is negative of owing 10, what then is the answer to that expression? Please see it. See what it has turned out to be, plus 10 or just 10. Negative of owing 10 is having 10. I hope everything here is clear to you. Now, watch out for a checkpoint. The checkpoint says interpret and hence evaluate the following operations. They are 5 in number. Plus 8 bracket minus 2. Plus 3 bracket plus 7. Minus 9 bracket minus 3. Minus 4 bracket minus 5. Minus 11 bracket plus 2. Please cross-check your answers, especially in comparison with the answers I got when I was explaining the things I just did before this point.